All right, well, I think we're going to get started here. My name's Kendall Otta. I'm the county conservationist for Oconto County Land and Water Conservation Department. I want to thank everyone for taking your time tonight to come to this meeting and learn a little bit about what we're going to be doing on your lake. First thing I want to do is go over to Zoom a little bit for people that are not familiar with it. Normally we have these in person, but obviously with COVID now, it's having them with Zoom. So if you look at your screen on the bottom left, there's a microphone that says mute and unmute. Just click on that, and we ask everyone to mute their computers. If you have a question during this, just unmute it and feel to ask, but that just stops any background noise from happening during the meeting. Next to it is a video camera. If you have poor internet and you're having problems, you can turn that off. It just won't show your picture, but you'll still be able to see everything that we're doing. Just something to try if you have poor internet. As you go across, you can see participants. There's 13. The next one is chat. If you click on the chat, you can take and type a question in there at any time, and we'll be watching that. So as other people are talking a little bit, we'll make sure and answer your questions if you don't feel it's an opportune time to jump in. So with that, I am going to share my screen and go through our county website. Ryan or Sarah, can you see the website page?
Yep, looks good.
Yep, looks
Perfect.
good.
So I'm going to show you the long way to get into where all this information is stored. Go up to the top here and it says departments. Click on that tab. Go down to the bottom left. It says Land and Water Conservation. Click on that. On the left-hand side here, you can see 3 down. We've got it in dark blue, the county waterways and aquatic invasive species. Once you get to this page, there's a area you can go into about invasive species. Healthy Waters Cost Share Program. That's a county program that's provides funding to organizations and associations, whether it's lake associations, it could be a sportsman club, and it's all to improve water quality on lakes and stuff. So there's that program if you're interested in reading up on that. Third one is the Countywide Lake Study. That's the tab that'll have all the information that's going to happen over the next 2 years here. Then the final one is the County Cost Share Program. That's another county funded program. It provides 70% cost sharing up to $2,500 a project. If you have shoreline erosion, it doesn't have to be just on the shoreline. Anywhere water's running across your lot that's causing problems, it can be roof gutters, you name it. We come out, do a free on-site assessment, give you recommendations, whether it could be a rain garden or buffers, or sometimes it's diversions, all kinds of things. And then we come up with a plan for you that you agree upon, and you can sign up for cost sharing for that. So that, excuse me, that's what's in that tab. But so Countywide Lake Study, I'll jump to there and just show you a few quick things. First one is the operation strategy and plan for surface water management and protection. That's kind of our county strategic plan. You can read it if you want, you don't have to, but it's got information in there more on our end. The next one's the Countywide Lake Survey results. That when this project started in 2016, we're currently through 34 lakes. I believe you guys are in the next group of 6. They did a countywide survey of 400 people, not necessarily on lakes or anything, and just the value of lakes in the county and stuff. That survey, some interesting results in there if you're interested in that. Next one is the individual lake summary reports and plans. I'll just go into there quick. You don't have anything in there yet. This is after data collection and goes, but you can kind of see if you're interested to see what the stuff's going to look like. I'll just take the top one is Anderson Lake Final Lake Management Plan. That's an approved plan. Before it's approved, it'll say draft. And right below it is the Anderson Lake Summary Report. The summary report comes out first. This is when we meet with you in 2 years and start the planning process. So if you just want to see what they look like, you can jump into that. Back to the other page is the Oconto County All Lakes Summary Draft. This is kind of interesting. Once we have your data collected, your lake gets compared to all the lakes in the county that have been through the planning process so far. I'll just show you just a couple examples. But the nice thing is you can take and compare your lake to other lakes or other lakes that you recreate on, you can look at. But average water clarity, you can see we got on this top chart is Machicany, O'Connell Falls, Anderson, John, and so on. So it lists all the lakes, and there's a whole bunch of different comparisons in here. Aquatic plants. Here's the total number of species of aquatic plants in the lakes, and you can see all the lakes and how many plants are in them and stuff. So it's just it's a good way if you want to compare your lake, other lakes, and how it stands out. So down below that is the Oconto County Lakes Project Summary or Update. Dale Moore from UW Extension is going to talk about that in a few seconds, so I'm just going to skip that. For this project, I got new topographic maps. You're going to get a new map of your lake, basically. The old DNR ones are 50, 70 years old, weren't real accurate stuff, so you will get a new one, and it'll be placed on there where you can print off a PDF copy of it or whatever you want. So that will be on there. Next block of tabs, I guess, is
like the doc. Like if that's too small for you, what he's showing you, you can, no.
Recording of lake study virtual meetings. If any of your neighbors or anyone else could not make the meeting, in a week or so, we'll have the recorded meeting on there that they can go and watch it if they want to. So you can see the ones that already been done. Then the last thing is the individual lake surveys. This is a big part into the planning phase of it, where we want to see what your perception of the lake is, whether the good things, the bad things, how you use the lake, and so on. I know I've pumped this out to you a few times in the emails, but again, it's if you got 5, 10 people in your household, everyone can take it. It doesn't have to be just one per household. It's anyone who uses the lake, and they don't even have to live on the lake. It could be just someone that comes there that you know. So it's real easy. Just click on the link by your lake. It takes 5 minutes to take the survey, and it's automatic submitted into our program. So with that, I am going to turn you over to Dale Moore from UW Extension.
Good to see everybody. Ken and I are the only ones allowed to share a monitor with this whole COVID thing going on. It's once again, it's good to see everybody. And those of you that, what's that? It's good to see everybody. How did we get to this point? I know most of you are probably thinking, yeah, it's a lake. It's an individual lake management plan for your lake. But the way we look at it is it's pretty exciting because you're one of 60 lakes that we're currently working with. And we started in 2016. And just the nature of the beast, having this as a 2-year process can add a lot of angst and concern about how do we get people involved at the beginning, not lose track of them over a 2-year period, and then make sure that they're there at the end of the process to understand what all happened. We did follow or look and research some of the other counties and how they try to plan with their lakes, and they tried to do it all at one time. And we thought 60 lakes out of the 300 that we're looking at, the 60 are because they have the public access. And about 10 years ago, we brought together a bunch of citizens, and they told us they really were focused on, they gave us a guiding goal was to have the healthiest waters within Wisconsin. They really wanted to, these were agribusiness folks, naturalists, everybody across the board agreed that they wanted healthy water. The problem we didn't know at the time was that we didn't have any raw data or published data on all our lakes. And when we started to research what was out there, it's like everybody was in different levels. The small lakes might have been overlooked, or maybe they had a special grant, but nobody was on the same field or same platform. And we couldn't make decisions on where to spend resources or money. So the idea was, how about we collaborate, apply for some grants, and see if we can get the DNR involved, UW Stevens Point, UW Extension, Land and Water Conservation, and of course, the umbrella organization, OCLALA, Oconto County Lakes and Waterways. I see Steve's on. if we can all get together and we can actually go forth and talk to the county, and maybe we can get 31 of the supervisors to focus on water as being important within the county. There's only really about 3 or 4 supervisors within Oconto County that are in lake areas. The rest of the 31 are pretty much agriculture and urban and rural areas. So to try to make the lake issues forefront became our sort of mantra over the last few years. So with that being said, we started to look at how do we take folks like you and other folks that we started 2 years ago and keep them all in the loop. And part of it is that we wanted to at least have the initial Meet Your Scientist meeting. And that's what it is tonight. The other part is, let's see here, is this document. I'm going to ask if people can see this document. I'm going to call on, let's see here. Steve, can you see a document? Nobody? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, I'll click the share button. And right there you should be. Right now.
There you go.
All right. Well, what's interesting about this document up front is it's only about 7 pages, single-sided. But if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the day of May 2021. That's to let you know, and that's on our website, the website that Ken took you to. And what we really want you to do is you could take this and print this off and have it, and you will understand exactly what your project on your lake is all about. You can also share it with your neighbors, and they'll understand within that first paragraph, it talks exactly what we're trying to do and accomplish. And at the bottom of that first paragraph, it gets you the shortcut to what Ken just showed you on how to get all the way through those websites. So instead of going through, the different departments, if you click on that, that blue link, you can go directly to it. But if you're going to enter it yourself, just be advised that you'll see that it's case sensitive. So the D, G, U, and the L before the Z on that latter part is it's important that you use it as uppercase. So anyway, once you've got this document, you will now be able to start tracking your lake. But we don't want to assume that you only care about your lake. There may be other lakes out there as well. So when we start to look at the first goal of this grant, we start to see the description of the goal. And I'll just read this first one, but it says, develop a scientific understanding of the near shore and shoreline habitat of the 60 lakes. Just below it are the activities that we're going to undertake, okay, on achieving that. The yellow tells you about the other lakes that have gone before you and are now completed with that task. Just below it, you're going to see the different tasks. There's the water body, and of course it lists pickerel, half moon, round, and long. Shane and Boulder will be at another meeting. The topics will be shoreland survey. We know it's going to be this year. We just haven't figured out the date yet. And then, of course, woody habitat and the aquatic plant. So those dates are going to change and be filled in as the DNR and the Stevens Point folks, and maybe a little bit of me getting out there, we'll start to put that on our calendars. So we want to let you know that it's out there. And when it's completed, we'll just say that it was completed. So then when you go back to this document, you don't have to try to figure out what we've been working on. You'll know exactly what we have completed and what's really in the hopper. And when we get into this, it's simple because right now I'm just showing under goal 2 and goal number 1, the 6 or the 6 lakes that we just got the grant for. But as I scroll through here, we start to get into a number of other lakes. And this is under activity 2 under goal 3. Nobody gets sick with me moving up and down. But when we start talking about the activities in the water body, we start to get into the other lakes that have yet to get that information printed. It might have been collected, but it hasn't been shown to the lake yet. So as we continue on, we start to see other lakes and where they are in the hopper. We know that if we go up to when we're on page 4 with Green Lake, we know that in 2018, they had their Meet the Scientist event on June 22nd. Their final lake plan, even though the preliminary one was presented in January, they're expecting that in the summer of 2021. So if I was on Green Lake and I was talking to my neighbors, I'd be able to say, hey, our final plan is yet to come this summer. We've already met. These are the things that are completed. So this is what we started to do. And you might say, well, why do you have to track each of the lakes? And the idea really is, well, we're going to have 60 lakes in all stages of being completed, and it's always a 2-year cycle with each lake. So it gets a little bit confusing on our end on what we've accomplished and getting it out to you. So with that being said, on this page, we have the major projects that were completed. Now, Ken mentioned that we had a countywide survey done back in 2016. It was presented to the county board, and it was a basis for the county board making a decision to help allocate $235,000 as a supplemental grant opportunity for you. And that was the Healthy Initiatives grant that we have as a program within the county. I honestly don't believe that would have come through if we were not at least unified in making our efforts towards the water as being an important resource within the county. It wouldn't have happened if we didn't have land and water conservation, allowing a citizen advisory group that was designed through this process to interact with them. And of course, it wouldn't have happened if the O'Connell County Land and Water wouldn't have been there champion the cause as well. So there's all this cause and effect that's going on. But I just want to let you know that if you want to take a look at the survey, it talks about how much people spend on winter sports to include ice fishing, but also summer sports. Are they up here during the summer, or are they up here mostly in the fall? You know, and it gives us a nice snapshot on how people think about the lakes, whether they live on an agricultural field, or they're actually on a river or a lake shoreline. A number of presentations. Number 2 is also part of this grandiose picture. We need to keep the DNR informed and enthused about our project. I mentioned, and Ken has mentioned, Ryan's going to start to mention, that we're targeted on 60 lakes within the county. The thing about it is we're only halfway there. Every year we apply for grants, and so far we've been the only ones getting those grants. So we wanted to always prime and target the DNR funder to say that we're making headway on these projects. And what we do with those grants, we're able to hire Stevens Point. My office is in kind. Ken's office for land and water is in kind. Your time here is in kind to get those grants. To come in, and then we're able to work as a team. So it's pretty exciting, but it does take some presentations to a lot of different groups to keep that activity going. So, and then the operational strategy, this was sort of unique because when we first went out, we had those 400 surveys completed. We also talked with a number of lakes at the beginning and said, what are your concerns on your water body? And they were quite diverse, from law enforcement to highway, to health and human services, to parks and rec. And we sat down and we convened a series of meetings with the departments within the county, and they actually had answers for those concerns. They wrote them up and what they would be willing to do, and then we presented those 16 goals to the county board, and they unanimously adopted that. So really what that does is it puts the onus now on our departments here at the county to start to fulfill what they said they can complete. So what was neat about that operational guide is that we already had success knowing what a lot of the negatives were coming from folks that they wanted to see fixed. So we have that operational guide. You can take a look at it and read it and keep our feet to the fire if you want on that as well. And that was adopted in January 2018. So then we're going to have the individual property lakes on there. Ken's talked about it a little bit. It was on your postcard. Ken's email that went out. We asked everybody if they would please fill out the survey. If you have more than one person living in your household, please have everybody fill out a survey. The more attitudes and the more feelings and the more concerns we got coming in, it really helps the process, because we need to know what you care about and what you're willing to help us help you out on that process. So really, anybody seeing this for the first time will know that those 4 completed major projects have been done so far. There's the contact information in the middle for your local contacts. And then again, we've got that little cheat link to get to all these items that we've got listed. The last page just has some of the covers of those documents and some of those presentations. So again, really, this document is something that we would like you to print out, read, come back on the website, check it out every other month or so to see if it's been updated. Let your neighbors know and get it out there. If you're part of an association or other people that care about water, give them a copy, let them know what's going on. It's our way of keeping the public informed and getting that information back to us. So really, that's sort of the skinny of the whole thing. I will then turn this over to Ryan and answer any of your questions if you happen to have any.
Thanks, Dale. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how this project is going to unfold. Maybe varying levels of understanding what's going on here. Ken basically showed you how to get to the Oconto County website and where all that information about this project is going to be housed. So that's really going to be your friend here. But I'm just going to talk about the process here. My name is Ryan Haney. I'm from UW-Stevens Point Center for Watershed Science. And so we've partnered with the county to implement this project. We're also working directly with DNR, UW Extension, and the Oconto County Lake and Waters Association. If you don't know that group, they're kind of an umbrella association in Oconto County for lake associations and lake districts. So I encourage you to check them out as well. And Steve is on here, and maybe he'll say a few words in a minute. These lakes in this area are 10,000 years old, most of them. And so the main idea of the project, because Oconto County has identified that the water in their county is a priority, the first thing to do is to assess those waters. A lot of these lakes have never, particularly the smaller ones like Roundin Lake, have never had any data collected on them before, never had a water sample taken. So there's a lot of hearsay, a lot of qualitative ideas about how the lakes might be changing or what the problems are. But in effect, we need to create a baseline of information. So data that we can monitor, look how it might change over time, so that we can make informed decisions about how to manage the lake. So the first part of this project is to conduct a lake study. And again, with 10,000-year-old lakes, we can really only get a snapshot in time. And so the kind of the most basic form of lake study is about a 2-year-long process because we've got seasons changing, we've got varying levels of activity in the lake, not to mention a standard for the various sorts of information that needs to be collected. So the studies on Long and Round, along with 4 other lakes that have come into the fold this year, will begin next month in June, and that'll continue for 2 years until summer of 2023. At that point, we will publish the results in a report that will also be posted online. Lakes that have come before you are already on that website. So if you're curious, you can look up some of the other lakes to see what kind of information is looked at and what's done with that information. Kelly Lake hasn't been through this process with our project, but they will be in the future. They've kind of been kicked back to a latter part of the project because they have undertaken this themselves. So they have already had lake study done. They have a lake management plan in place that they're updating. And so any lakes that have a lake management plan, we will just kind of work with what they have in place. So, again, this can be a $10,000 value or so to the lakes. Kelly Lake is bigger. They've got a group, and so that they've paid this money and made this happen. So for some of these smaller lakes that don't have that ability or that capacity, this project will kind of bring that value to you. So after the 2-year lake study, where we look at things like obviously water quality, we look at aquatic plants in the lake, we look at fisheries, look at habitat both in the lake and near shore. We look at the whole watershed. What's the land use in the watershed, soil types, different things like that. What's the organizational structure around the lake? Is there any? If some management objectives are identified for these lakes, who's going to make that happen, and how will that unfold? And what are there any recreational issues? Are things that need to be improved? Are the boat launches in good shape? Things like that. We'll update the bathymetry of the lake, which is kind of the bottom topography. Most of those maps were created 50 years ago by the DNR in primitive ways. We now have continuous sonar, things like that. So you'll get a new updated electronic map of the lakes, things like that. And so again, just to kind of bring all these lakes with a baseline of information that you can then use to make decisions about your lake. And so following that 2-year study, we'll publish those results and reports. Those reports will be provided to you as well as on the website. And then we'll get together again, hopefully by then in person. That's how we prefer to do this. But we'll do what we have to do. We're doing the Zoom thing now, obviously, but we will present that information to you. We'll have the DNR Lakes biologist there, DNR Fisheries, several of us from UW-Stevens Point to interpret that data for you, to help you understand it, and then basically have a discussion with you all about what needs to be done with the lake, what needs to be preserved or protected, what issues there may be. Again, we don't have historic data for either of these 2 lakes, Long or Round, but we will create that baseline and go into our management decisions with that baseline. And so through that discussion, through those meetings, we will draft and create a lake management plan. Primarily with my shop and our help, we'll start that plan for you, go through it with you, and just kind of an iterative drafting process back and forth until we have general consensus on what's in that plan and what the objectives are. The reason to create a lake management plan is the reason you'd have a plan for anything, the reason you'd have a plan for your retirement, the reason you'd have a plan for, the county has their strategic plan. So again, it's just it's a document designed to house all the information we know about the lake, combined with the science and combined with the input of the lake residents. And so when we present that information, we'll make recommendations, we'll give advice, we'll interpret technical data, but basically we'll ultimately hear from you on what you guys are willing to do and what you would like to see done with the lake. Once we have a plan that everyone's kind of in agreement with, we haven't had a lot of trouble. There's obviously some controversial issues, but you'll see we get to a place of consensus pretty quick. Once we have that plan in place, it'll go on file with the DNR. It'll go on file with the county, and it'll go to your local township. So all these various entities will be aware of this plan. So that when the DNR is considering stocking or considering some activity, they can refer to this plan to see what's the current status and what do the people of that lake want to see happen. When the town or the highway or the county come through rebuilding roads, they can refer to this plan for suggestions. And as we said before, when Ken's shop, when the Land and Water Conservation Department is looking for, say they want to work on erosion this week. So what lakes have problems with erosion? They can quickly refer to these various management plans and see who has these issues. And so really organize and prioritize resources. Also, once your lake has an approved management plan, it makes you far more competitive for additional resources and additional funding. a lot of the grants are given to lake groups that have a holistic vision of their lake, that understand how their lake works, as opposed to giving it to groups who just have one little project they want to work on here or there. So, with an increasing demand on lakes, it will increase those resources that are available to you. So in the meantime, so that'll be a 2-year process, as I said. And so we will come together again in summer 2023 and have a meeting and discuss this and create our lake management plan at that time. In the meantime, if you're interested in being involved, you can always refer to that document that Dale presented in terms of what's going on your lake when. Very soon here, that document will actually list dates that either DNR or Stevens Point or folks will be out on your lake doing some of this work. So sometimes you can hop on the boat with us, ask questions, at least you'll know what's going on out there. And then also, if people are interested in volunteering to collect water quality samples, to measure water clarity, things like that, give Ken, get in contact with Ken, and he can hook you up with training from the DNR. And that data will go right into our process, right into our project. And hopefully beyond this project, we will equip you guys with the information and the resources and the organization you need to continue on after this project, managing your lake in an informed way. So that's really what it is. We don't have anything specific to present on your lake. We just wanted to make you aware of this project, understand what's happening, find out ways you can plug in if you're interested. Otherwise, you may see people out there occasionally, and we will call you all back together sometime in late summer of 2023. With that, any questions? We'd also like to hear from you if you guys have any concerns about your lake, any questions about the project, obviously, anything that we should be aware of going into it. It's pretty standardized data and information we collect on these lakes, but if we have an idea of a particular issue or are aware of certain things, that can certainly be given attention through this process. So any information you guys have for us, questions or interests, lay it on us. And sir, we'd like to hear from you. Anyone? And Steve too, if you'd like to mention anything about Ocklawaha.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So when you guys are out surveying or doing testing, is there going to be any identification that we'll know who is out there, that if we want to talk to them, or is it just kind of everybody in plain clothes and we'll just kind of have to use our best guess?
That can vary. I know when we're out there, our trucks are marked Stevens Point, our boat is marked UWSP. I don't know how the DNR rolls out there. Again, there's the fisheries biologist, and then there's the lake biologist, and then she also has technicians, and I'm not aware of their equipment. But that document that Dale presented at the beginning will list specific dates on when you would expect someone to be out there. And certainly if you see someone out there cruising the shoreline real slowly, or with clipboards and stuff like that, that's probably one of us.
Okay, thanks.
And this is Dale again. The DNR usually, they'll have a marked vehicle with their trailer. The boat is not marked, but it's usually 2 folks or 3. And we do have handouts that we give to folks that are on their docks that are laminated now with the whole COVID thing, to explain to them, because we do get side looks and people demanding what we're doing, that sort of thing, when we're in front of somebody's cottage for 5 minutes, type of thing. So we're always happy to engage in conversation, but there's always going to be like a clipboard or something. We just, no fishing poles.
No fishing poles, no coolers of beer.
Yeah, this Ken, just to go on top of that, Brenda from DNR, Brenda Nordine, she's the one that does a lot of this. She's always happy to take anyone out that wants to go out. So if you're interested in helping in any of this, you can email me your contact information, And what she'll do is call you a couple days ahead of time and say, on Thursday, I'm going to be out there if you want to jump in the boat for a couple hours and see how it's done and stuff. And also with that, they're always looking for volunteers for the Citizen Lake Monitoring Network. It usually runs from May to September, I believe, and it's one time a month. You go out and do a water sample, water clarity, water temp, and you just plug it in. Well, I don't even know if they put it in the system or if Brenda does, but you document it and it gets in the system, so we have that data. So if anybody's interested in doing that on your lake, email me your information on that also, and I'll get it to Brenda.
I got a quick question. First of all, I think that the presentation was outstanding. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. I watched one of the other videos from one of the previous lakes that was studied, and I saw them talking about a fish study. How do they do that? I mean, how are they measuring them? They do like do they electrocute the fish and then sort of see what bubbles up, or can you go into that, sparing any of the gory details?
Yeah, and when we get to our planning stage meeting in two years roughly, the DNR fish biologist will be presenting on your lake. But from what he always says, or let me see, north of 64 is Chip Long and south is Tammy Pioli, but one of them, they go and for like the game fish, like northern and stuff, they go and they spawn and they actually electroshock them. So they just go around there at night with the boat and 5 feet of water or less, shock them, net them, measure them, sample them, whatever they're going to do with them. And then for the panfish and I believe the bass and stuff, they actually put like fight nets out in the summer when they're up in the shallows and get them that way. So then they'll be out during the day with the boat pulling up to them, empty the net out, go through, size them, measure them all, and so on. So, but I think it'll be Chip, but he will give a report on that.
Yeah, we can't go into more, none of us are the fish biologists here, so it'd be hard for us to go into too much detail, but they do an electrofishing survey, and then they do some netting as well. And I don't know when that's planned for some of these smaller lakes. They may have never even been into Long or Round before, and so and it might not have made their rotation either. But because of this project, they're actually going into some of these smaller lakes. So I don't know what his schedule is, but that hopefully we'll get that updated in that document as well.
And if I could add something, what's nice about this collaboration of so many different agencies is the DNR does their 2-year plans and gets it on the calendar. Obviously, Ryan is involved because of the whole grant cycle and having it on his calendar. Then the biologists and our own staff, when we meet and we plan out the lakes, we also look at what the lakes that we're looking at submitting for a grant, what they're missing. So if they haven't had a fish count, in 10 years, they know it's due. But Chip and Tammy then are saying, well, since Oconto is doing so much work, let's keep working with them so that there's this complete data. So it's nice that we're able to bring that much attention to the county working on this together.
If I could ask one more, and I'm sorry for asking back-to-back questions, but these lakes up here are connected. Long Lake, Round Lake, and Kelly Lake. The connection between Round and Kelly is quite short, but still there. Does the study extend to the interconnection of the lakes?
In a way, I guess I would wonder specifically in what way you mean. There's a baseline data collected specifically on each lake. That said, the study does include a look at the watershed as a whole, and these being so close and being connected, they probably share a watershed. So indeed, that connection will be looked at. I guess depending on what you mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, if maybe I could clarify on that. I mean, my understanding from looking at maps is that, I mean, they literally are connected, not just under the watershed. There's a lot of maps show a stream that connects the southeast corner of Long Lake to the north, I guess that's let's say northeast corner of Round Lake. And so in any event, I feel like these things are all sort of connected to each other. And then similarly, so I know people have talked about, the interplay between Round Lake over to Kelly Lake. That's much shorter, just sort of across that little strip of land. But in any event, I feel like they're all part of the same sort of family. I'm not a scientist. I'm happy you are, but I just feel like that seems like it would play into the study.
It does for some things. I mean, hydrologically, they're definitely all connected very directly. I mean, they're sharing the same groundwater, so much of the same water is flowing through those same lakes, and so we will study the lakes individually with kind of that awareness that there is that connection, and depending on which way that connection goes, in this area, for example, groundwater typically flows to the southeast. So water flowing, southeast, is that, I think so.
Yep, right.
So water, so that in a sense, Long Lake and Round Lake are up gradient of Kelly Lake. It would behoove Kelly Lake to pay attention to Round and Long. And maybe through this process, all three of these lakes can begin to work together, recognizing that they are in very close proximity, and what impacts one may have an effect on another. Absolutely. And that'll be something we get into during the planning. Certainly. But, when we look at the plants in a particular lake, or when we look at the water quality of a specific lake, we will definitely, because of their proximity, we will definitely see similarities, but we'll also see differences. And if there's something in particular that looks like it may be impacting another, that'd be something we discuss, certainly.
I guess to give you a good example of that, some of them we did already, is you take Underwood Lake, drains into Lee Lake. Underwood Lake has milfoil they're fighting with. Lee Lake does not. So in the planning stuff and everything, we kind of, get the lakes together because it's in Lee Lake's best interest to help Underwood Lake not let the milfoil into their lake. And it's the same thing with Usio Lake drains into Westcott Lake. Usio Lake has the milfoil, Westcott does not have it yet. So it does tie in when they do find some of them issues that could be pretty dramatic, I guess, if it, like the milfoil's flowing downstream. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Great answer. Thank you.
Any other questions out there?
So yeah, in the meantime, just kind of like Chris mentioned, go to that website and you can look at reports from other lakes. You can look at their lake management plans, and more recently, since we started the Zoom thing, you can even look at recordings of some of their meetings. And so you can get a better idea of some of these topics that are talked about, and what some of the issues might be, if you're interested.
We did have a meeting with a couple of lakes just before this, and the question came up, what can they do in the short term? And I'm not sure if Ryan touched on this, but the idea is all of you could talk now and maybe start to get some of the other property owners to think about what are your major concerns and what are the major issues that are negative that you have on your lake, and see if you could prioritize those issues. And you've got some time. You've got a couple of years about that. But it's nice to know who your neighbors are. And if you can all come to the same conclusion or agreement on priority, that'll help a lot during the planning phase of this as well. So think about your own wishes, talk to your neighbors about your wishes and concerns, and then start to select, which ones are the most important.
And I guess to add to that, not to make it doom and gloom like Dale is, it doesn't have to be just negative stuff. If you got something you really enjoy about the lake, that's worthwhile noting too, because then we can plan around how to protect that, not let it degrade and stuff. So you can look at good stuff too that you, like I say, you want to protect.
Yeah, part of this process will be not only having information about these lakes, but really, as you're seeing, making you guys aware of resources that are available to you, but hopefully even introducing you all to each other. Once we create a management plan, it's really going to be upon you guys to continue keeping it pushing forward. And when Ken needs to contact someone on Round Lake, or Brenda's going to be out on Long Lake doing something, and there's no organizational structure, they don't know who to call, versus Kelly Lake, obviously like a much bigger lake, but they have a structure for disseminating information. And so we will talk about this again at planning, but in the meantime, the best thing you can do is create a list of contact information for each other, a way to disseminate information, a phone tree, an email tree, things like that. So that if there is something going on, or somebody wants to get in touch with such and such lake, who do they call? That's another integral part of the planning process, is to kind of create those mechanisms. So that's always something you guys can work on as well. In the meantime, organizations can be formal and be an association. They can be very informal, friends groups, things like that. So, but ultimately, once you have this plan in your hands and are ready to run with it, who's doing what on what day, and things like that will start to become, the issue.
I don't wish to just keep speaking at you folks, because we're interested in getting some information from you as well. But this should at least give you the confidence that you're not by yourself on the lake. There's 33 other lakes that are going through the process already that you can call on. What's going to be nice is that when we do get to the other, the 60 as a total, you can look at that summary report as well. And if you have the same issue that 5 or 10 or maybe just a couple of other lakes have as well, you can contact those lakes, and the more the merrier in numbers. So again, you're not just going to be an individual lake that did its own little plan and the whole world seems to be against you, since I talk doom and gloom. But the idea is you can have numbers. And we found out, even going to the county board and asking for resources, it's nice to bring in numbers of folks to talk about one major concern to get that to the top of everybody's priority. So just to let you know, you got a lot of different departments here focused on Oconto, focused on your waterway. So thank you for that.
I have one follow-up question. I don't know who will best answer this, but is there ever a misconception that these studies would draw additional recreation or attention to smaller lakes that would potentially cause negative impact?
I've heard that concern, certainly. I don't. These plans, these studies, I don't think are necessarily going to highlight a particular lake in any sort of way that would draw someone there that wasn't already aware of it. A lot of this, the fisheries information, I think about fisheries driving a lot of that lake use, for example. That is public knowledge. It's not something that's advertised per se. But I think I think it's better to know than to not know in most cases. And so you may have a just a kicking fishery in your lake that you don't want other people to know about it. But I would argue, is that fishing getting worse? Is it getting better? What if you have fish kill? Then what? Can it be improved upon? Things like that. So
And I guess.
I think it'd be a hard argument to make,
Yeah,
but I guess it's a possibility.
Yeah, to clarify, that's not a concern of mine personally. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure. I was curious if you had dealt with that situation in some of the previous studies that you've done, just so I have the information to present to other individuals.
Sure. I have not seen that happen per se. I've heard people express that concern. I've not seen it happen. Yeah, I mean, most of the bigger lakes have the funding and the capacity. They're doing this anyway. And so this is kind of really is supposed to just kind of be a proactive approach to your lake. I don't think it's designed to necessarily highlight any particular features. But if there are things that you want to protect, then that's also quite valid for the plan. If you want to keep, obviously we can't keep people from coming,
Right.
Public access, but I don't see a way in this process that would necessarily highlight these lakes or draw anyone to them that aren't already aware of them. Particularly since we're doing, lakes across the county. This is just one lake of 60 that's being studied. So again, hopefully it's to arm you with more information that you can make better decisions. And if everything's hunky-dory and you're liking it, then that also needs to be preserved, because things will go on without you. You won't be here forever. It'll be someone else at some point. Something could happen to your lake that you weren't planning on. You could get invasive species, things like that. So this process is really just designed to be out ahead of the curve, so you're better prepared on management.
Sure.
But
I
guess there's always
understand.
that potential. Yeah.
Yep, I understand. I appreciate it, and thank you all.
I personally have become aware of a lot of lakes up in Oconto County I was not aware of through this process, and there are some beauties that I may come back and visit.
No, that answers my question. That gives me the information that I was looking for. I was just curious if you had experienced that, but thank you all for your time and efforts, and I look forward to seeing what we get out of it.
Cool, you bet. Anyone else? Okay, in the meantime, don't hesitate to orient yourself on the county website, and give Ken or Dale a call. They can always connect you with me or someone at the DNR if you have questions. If you're not paying attention and you just want to know where things are at and you don't feel like trying to track down some document, just give us a call. We'll tell you. I don't mind. So yeah, with that, we'll send out notices summer 2023, unless you unless you want to insert yourself somewhere before then. We'll get together then, hopefully in person, and see what we got.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You bet.
Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.